Hi everyone, I'm Anatole and this is my review of Mr. Miracle number 12 by Tom King and Mitch Gerads. And of note, as I record this, it has just been announced within the past day that at the Eisner Awards, Mr. Miracle won Best Limited Series, Tom King won Best Writer, and Mitch Gerads won Best Artist. So although my review of this is quite belated, as an individual issue review, the usual modus operandi is to review the issues as they come out. However, I wanted to wait before the series was completed and I could take a view of the whole series before I did my review of each individual issue. And I had hoped that as the release of the completed graphic novel came out, that would generate interest in the reviews. So that was my rationale for doing this review a year after the first issue was published. And even though I took a break between issues 6 and 7 or 7 and 8, all this worked out well because here I am at the very end, issue 12, and I get to report that this series received some very well-deserved critical recognition. So now let's go over the review, the user scores and critic ratings of Mr. Miracle according to Comic Book Roundup. It scored 9.1 from the critics and 8.4 from the users. And here is the plot summary courtesy of Comic Book Roundup. It'll be a miracle if you can get through this mind-bending conclusion with your sanity intact. This is sounding like Funky Foreman here. After his epic battle with Darkseid, Scott Free sees life a whole new way. Should be in a whole new way. He's the new High Father of New Genesis, and he's madly in love with his wife and child. But what if it's all a lie? Did Mr. Miracle really escape death way back in issue 1? No one really knows but Tom King and Mitch Gerads. And one thing of note in this issue is there are a number of callbacks, both in the situations that happen within the issue, where the characters are repeats from previous issues, but then there are a number of characters who also reappear. So in a traditional narrative, that would bring a sense of closure. But in this, these returns are more thematically aligned with the idea that Mr. Miracle has never escaped his condition of death. One character even says, "You are in hell." And I've been here for a lot longer than you, and I can tell you that things just sort of repeat again and again. Sort of feels like the Nietzschean eternal return, that certain occurrences will always happen again and again, and you'll never find true closure. So even though Mr. Miracle has created for himself this idyllic life with his wife and his son and a new child to come, all of this is a lie, according to Bug, who's the character who tells him that. And he has all these other people who have died return to haunt him. So it's almost like that sort of the Lacanian repressed, that there are aspects within you that you can never hide because your mind is going to bring them out. The more you try to deny them, the more the subconscious will make them appear in other areas. And here we can see one of those instances of the ghosts coming back to haunt him. Here we see just Darkseid not saying anything but sitting in the living room as Big Barda and Scott talk to each other. And Big Barda doesn't notice Darkseid at all, but Scott Free does. It's just another example of these ghosts that are haunting him throughout the issue. And then, is it Oberon? I believe that Oberon, his sidekick, reappears, and he has a whole work-to-involve speech with Scott, which includes actually a very significant line that is an homage, and I've referred to this in one of my early reviews. It's an homage to a saying that Jack Kirby had, that comic books will break your heart. But here it's more intended to be about life. Life will break your heart. It is very important, thematically very important, so I'm going to read it. Here we go. So here's Scott Free, and he's crying. He says, "I think I did everything wrong. I should have escaped. I shouldn't have escaped. So he's of two minds of it. And Oberon, everything is wrong. It's okay, kiddo. Come on. You're all right. Scott, listen. That other world, all those crises and continuities that never really make sense. Now here he's talking about the DC universe. What's that world full of superheroes who always end up hunky-dory? You think that that's more real than that wife of yours, that kid? Sorry, I mean kids? Come on, sell me another one. And so here he goes, kid, all this, and here's the reference to the Jack Kirby quote. Kid, all this will break your heart. But now this second part is Tom King's own edition. And this is key to his thematic intention, or his intention of the book. Oh, autofocus is going crazy here. All right, I'm just going to have to read it to you. But if you're good, if you stay good, you know, there's someone out there who will help you put it back together. And of course, that means Big Barda. And so that seems to imply that the trade-off of reality for this neverworld, this purgatory, it's fine because Scott has Big Barda to ground him, and we've seen that throughout the series, that where things should have been very bad and should have gone into that nightmare realm that Bug talked about, there was always Barda there to right the ship. And then without Barda, he would be stuck in a hell and things would always go wrong. But because he has Barda as the balance, he's able to find that dream within the hell and make it his own. And when he's given the chance to go back into the real world, he does not take it, because for him, even though he's within this created universe, we could call this hell, because he has his grounding, it's become paradise. So it's a way of saying that if you have that key, then even hell becomes heaven for you. And so that, I think, is Tom King's commentary on reality and mental health. He's able to tie it all together. And I had commented before that one was stronger, the other was stronger. I didn't see how they were anything more than just tools for him to tell the story, but at the very end he finds that message, and so it all did make sense. And that's one reason for me that this is a masterpiece. It is a masterpiece because it's well written, it's well drawn, so the craft in the series is there. The little individual beats are well done, and then at the end it all works. There is a whole that encompasses the parts. So it's not a question of the sum are greater than the whole is greater than the sum. They all work well together. And before I finish, I want to comment on the art. And I've been going on about how each issue there was a color that was sort of the thematic color, and then Gerrits would take a second color as a sort of to highlight a secondary theme. But in this issue, he goes for the natural color. It's just a white background, what we normally find in a comic book. And it's not very stylized. The panels and the artwork are more natural than other points in the series. The color schemes are all natural. And it's, I think, Mitch Gerrits' way of saying that Scott is home. What you would consider a normal comic book, Mitch Gerrits is using that formal convention to imply that this now is home for Scott. And so when Scott is challenged by these other characters, these ghosts from the past, we are sympathetic towards Scott staying in this invented universe, because the form and the content are telling us that this is where Scott should be. And so, well, there is a 1-point difference between the critic score and the user score, and I think a lot of it has to do with this unresolved narrative. Scott does not join back into the continuity, which is where the fans would want him to be. Instead, he's stuck in this pocket universe, which is in a way a little bit unresolved, because comic books are comic books. You know he's going to come back into continuity at some point. So you'd want to see that happen at the end of this series, But the point of this series is not about tying this into continuity. It's about finding the meaning that if you were in hell, you can find heaven if you have the right key. And for Scott and others, that right key is finding that other person that can ground you and bring out the better you. And that's it. That's all I got. All right. Well, thank you for staying with me through these 12 issues, and I hope you enjoyed my commentary and review of the 12. And that's all for now. So until next time, bye.